Okay, so today we're going to build on what we've been doing. We have been working with fractions that are smaller than 1. So like 6 is smaller. And then we also is smaller than 1. We also have been talking about what a whole looks like. A whole looks like 6 over 6. So that means all the pieces are there. Now we're going to talk about fractions that are bigger than 1, and they can be written in 2 ways. So this is fractions that are smaller. So if we did our picture, and we have our 6, and then we have our 4/6, that is smaller than 1 whole. What they're called is, there's going to be 2 ways. It's going to be a mixed number, and I'll show you what that is. And then there is fractions bigger than 1. Now, you might hear it as improper fractions, but really all that means is that they are bigger than 1. Okay, let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to do it with picture. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this up here, and I'm going to color in our 6 out of 6. So that, if I'm thinking of like candy bars, that means I have 1 whole candy bar and part of a candy bar. So how this would look would be, we have 1 whole, which is that one, and then we have 4 out of 6. That's called a mixed number because you have a whole number, you have your whole number, and then you have the fraction. So that's called a mixed number. Okay, and to change it, what it looks like as an improper fraction is that we take our 2 fractions here and we add them. So what do we know about adding? We know that the denominator stays the same, right? So the denominator stays the same, and then we add our parts. So together we have 10 parts. Now, what you notice here is that we have a numerator bigger than the denominator. So it's a fraction bigger than 1. So if the numerator is bigger than the denominator, that means it's a fraction bigger than 1 and you have a 1 whole in there. And so this is a fraction bigger than 1. So this is when the numerator, the top number, is bigger, than denominator. Okay, so the denominator. So the improper fraction is the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So far, we've only been working with fractions where it doesn't have a whole. It only has the small parts. All right, so I'm going to draw a fraction, and then we're going to write it in a mixed number, and then we're going to write it in a fraction bigger than 1. So here is our first fraction. Okay. And I'm using my lines on my paper to help me make my even ones. So let's color in 1 whole. Okay, so let's write the fractions under them. So this is 1 whole, so we can write it as 1, or we can also write it as 8/8. So there's the two ways that we can write that. So depending on which way we want it to be. And this one is 2/8, right? Okay, so I'm going to just put this here so we see that there's two ways to write this. All right, so let's do mixed number first. So mixed number is we do the whole. How many wholes do we have? We just have 1. So the mixed number is 1, and then we write the fraction, and 2/8. So we've got 1 whole and 2/8. So this is 1 and 2/8. Now let's do it for fractions bigger than 1. That's when we need this. So what we think in our head is that we add those two. When you add them, you know that the denominator stays the same, and we add our numerator. So 8 plus 2, or you can count your parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are the same. All of these equal the same. So this is called the mixed number, and this is called the fraction bigger than 1. So this is mixed because it has a whole number and a fraction. This is not mixed because it's all fractions, but it's a fraction bigger than 1 because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So let's practice a few of these. All right, so we're going to do 1/8. Let's try it without a picture. So let's do 1 and 1/8. Let's change it to a fraction bigger than 1. We're going to change it to a fraction bigger than 1. So the first step is you can draw a picture, or I'm going to show you with the math terms. We know that the 1 is equal to what? If the denominator is 8, that means this 1 is equal to 8/8, and then we do our plus 1/8. Now it all depends on what our denominator is to see what our whole is worth. So that means 8 plus 1 is 9, and the 8 stay the same. The trickiest part of this is making sure you know what to change your whole number to. So let's do another one. Let's do 1 and 3/5. Now 1 and 3/5, now we got to change our 1 to a fraction. And I look here to see it's fifths, so that means my 1 is 5/5. Then I put my plus sign, and then I add them. The 5 stayed the same because we're not changing the number of parts. And then total we have 8. Let's check it with a picture. So if we have 8s right here, we have 1, and then we have 1/8. So we color all this in because we have 1 whole, and then we have 1/8. So we should have 9. Let's check it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so that's how we get 8/8. Now over here, it's fifths. Okay, and then we have our other one. So we have 1. Well, this is our whole. And then we have 3. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8/5. Okay. I want to do one more. I'm going to try to do it in the space right over here. So let's do 1 and 2/3. First thing, we got to look at that denominator, see what my whole looks like. So it's 3 parts, so that means this is 3 out of 3 plus our 2/3. So that equals 3 plus 2 is 5. And when I add and subtract fractions, I just bring that denominator right over because it's still thirds. So 5/3. And if we checked it with our picture, we have These are in thirds. We've got 3/3 and then 2/3. All right. Now, the tricky part is when we go backwards. So we're going to start working backwards. I'm going to give you the fraction bigger than 1, and then we are going to make it into a mixed number. So our fraction bigger than 1, our first one is 11/4. Now, we have to think, when we were making it from a mixed number to a fraction bigger than 1, we added. So now, going backwards, we have to subtract wholes out. So when I'm looking at this, I have 11. So I know that a whole is what? 4 parts, right? So instead of adding it, we are going to subtract it. So down here, I'm going to show you my thoughts. So I have 11/4. I'm going to subtract 4/4. And right down here, I'm going to put, that's a 1 whole. That's a 1 whole. Then that equals 7/4. Now, is that still a fraction bigger than 1? Yes. So that means I can take out another whole. So I'm going to take out another whole. And that's another 1. So now that equals 3/4. So now my last step is I see how many wholes I have, which is 2. So now I have 2 wholes and I have 3/4 left. Okay, so looking at pictures. So if I was going to do a picture with this, I have to make groups of 4. So I would go, I probably would do my little thing here. I would do 1, 2, 3, 4. That's one group. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, I'm only at 7. No, I need to have 11. That's right. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So now I have 11. Now I just draw my shapes around it. So now you can see that there are 2 wholes and 3/4 because they need to be the same, like candy bars. We have 3 candy bars here, but only 2 and 3/4 left. This is the tricky part. So we'll be practicing this one a lot. So let's do the next one. Let's do 6/5. And this time let's do the picture first. Okay, so I have 2 groups. Well, I have a group of 5 here. So I would go 5 in a group. So I'd do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because it has to be 5 parts. Because that's my bottom 5, but I have 6 parts, so I have to have 1 more over here. And remember, the 2 shapes have to be the same, so I've got to have over here. So I've got 6/5. So that means I have, how many holes do I have? I have 1 hole and 1/5 left over. Now let's do it our math way. The biggest one with this is that you just need to remember to counting out your holes. So if I have 6/5, I want to subtract out a hole, and I find that out by what's my denominator. My denominator is 5, so that means 1 hole would be 5/5, and I'm going to put the 1 down here, equals 1/5. I can't take out any more holes because that's less than 1, so then my fraction, my mixed number, is 1 and 1/5. All right, so we're running out of time. It's okay if you don't understand this one, we will practice it more. And instead of a code word today, what I want you to do is I want you to come to math class touching your nose, and then I'll know that you've watched a video. I want you to come to class, and I want you to have changed 1 and 2/3 into a fraction bigger than 1. So it's not this one, it's what we did on the other page. See if you can do that one. You can draw it